very good morning. You're watching the Breakfast News on Sabha television. I'm Aishwarya Kapoor with you. And in the next 30 minutes, I'll be taking you through the biggest news stories from India and across the world, starting with the headlines. Reshuffle of Union Cabinet to take place on Sunday. Ahead of third such exercise for the Modi government, 4 union ministers resign. Desh Deepak Verma assumes charge as new Secretary General of Rajya Sabha, says he will work towards making Upper House an active, vibrant organisation. Prime Minister to visit Myanmar on 5th of September. External Affairs Ministry says spate of violence in Rakhine State and exodus of Rohingya minority to figure in the talks. CBI files a charge sheet against former Air Force Chief SP Tyagi and 9 others in Augusta Westland VVIP chopper deal. Agency alleges 2,666 crore rupees lost to exchequer. And Petra Kvitova and Venus Williams reach a 4th round at the US Open. Former champion and 5th seed Marin Cilic bows out. Our top story this morning, the Union Cabinet will be reshuffled on Sunday. Now, 4 junior ministers of the Central Cabinet have already resigned ahead of the rejig. More ministers are expected to step down as well. Here are all the details.
Several new faces, including some from the BJP's allies, are expected to join the government when Prime Minister Narendra Modi reshuffles his Council of Ministers on Sunday. It will be the 3rd such exercise since he took over in May 2014. The swearing-in ceremony of the new ministers will take place at Rashtrapati Bhavan at 10 a.m. on Sunday. 4 ministers, Rajiv Pratap-Rudy, Sanjeev Kumar Balyan, Phaggan Singh Kulaste and Mahendranath Pandey, have resigned ahead of the rejig.
देखिए, अब पार्टी के हम लोग कार्यकर्ता हैं और पार्टी का निर्णय हुआ कि आप अपना इस्तीफा दें, उसके लिए वो बिल्कुल सामान्य है और पार्टी में काम करने का पुराना अनुभव है और मैं समझता हूं कि जिस स्थान पर भी जो भी कोई काम करता है वो हम सिपाही के रूप में पार्टी का काम करते हैं।
मैं पार्टी के एक जिम्मेदार व्यक्ति के नाते पार्टी के आदेश का पालन करता हूं और पार्टी जैसा कहेगी वैसा मैं करूंगा।
मैंने खुद अनुरोध किया नेतृत्व से कि बड़े राज्य में मुझे ज्यादा समय देना है, इसलिए मुझे इस दायित्व से मुक्त किया जाए और हमारी योजना सबसे अहम तो है कि उत्तर प्रदेश में इतनी प्रबल बहुमत से सरकार हमारी है, केंद्र में हमारी बहुत ही शानदार सरकार है, तो दोनों सरकारों के जो जनहित के काम हो जनता तक ठीक से पहुंचे।
Ahead of the resignations, BJP President Amit Shah met Prime Minister Narendra Modi. The two leaders are understood to have finalized the changes in the Council of Ministers. To reports that she has also offered to resign, Union Minister Uma Bharti said that only Amit Shah or anyone on his behalf can speak on the issue. The Union Cabinet is likely to see the entry of the JDU that recently joined the NDA and also the AIADMK if the party chooses to join hands with the National Alliance at the centre. The current strength of the Council of Ministers, including the Prime Minister, is 73 and the maximum number of ministers cannot go beyond 81. While there are some vacancies, a number of senior ministers are also holding dual portfolios. Arun Jaitley is in charge of finance and defence, while Harshvardhan, Smriti Irani and Narendra Singh Tomar are also handling additional charges. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And on to the other top story, Desh Deepak Verma, a retired IAS officer of the 1978 batch, has assumed charge as the new Secretary General of Rajya Sabha. Now, Mr. Verma held the charge of Secretary of Ministry of Parliamentary Affairs before retirement in 2013, and then he served as the chairman of the UP Electricity Regulatory Commission. Our correspondent Vikshal Dahiya spoke exclusively to him. Let's take a listen.
Mr. Desh Deepak Verma has joined as the new Secretary General of Rajya Sabha. We have with us the new Secretary General himself. Sir, congratulations. And this doesn't look like a new domain for you. You've already been Secretary for the Ministry of Parliamentary Affairs before you retired. So any priorities with this new office you would want?
Thank you for your good wishes and congratulating me. Yes, I have been Secretary Parliamentary Affairs, but I think every new assignment is a new challenge. So what I wish to do is during my tenure as Secretary General of the Rajya Sabha, as you know, that Parliament is the soul of democracy. So we want the Rajya Sabha to become even more active, vibrant organization in which the aspirations of people are truly reflected and the debates take place in a very cordial and friendly atmosphere.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much.
And the newly appointed Secretary General of Rajya Sabha, Desh, Deepak Verma, called on Vice President and Rajya Sabha Chairman M. Venkaiah Naidu yesterday. Now, this comes after he took the charge of Secretary General, succeeding Shamsher K. Sharif. Now, Mr. Verma held the charge of Secretary of Ministry of Parliamentary Affairs before his retirement in 2013 and then served as the Chairman of the UP Electricity Regulatory Commission. On to some other news now. President Ramnath Kovind described Andhra Pradesh as the most cherished and dynamic state of the country on Friday. At a felicitation accorded to him by the state government at the SV Arts College grounds in Tirupati, the president said that the state has shown the way to the rest of the country in adoption of technology for social development programs. The president said that the state has made a rapid progress in many fields under the leadership of N. Chandrababu Naidu since it made a new beginning 3 years ago. He also expressed a happiness that the state government has been taking all the measures for the welfare of the poor and marginalized sections of the society. The president also congratulated the state government for providing agricultural land for women members of traditionally marginalized communities. On to some other news now. After assuming office on Friday, Niti Ayog's Vice Chairman Rajiv Kumar said that it was absolutely wrong to say that demonetization was responsible for the slide in the GDP. Now, Kumar stressed that farmer stress is a real phenomenon and that job creation, agriculture and health are the key priorities to make development a mass movement in India.
Exuding confidence that the July-September quarter will see 7 to 7.5% growth, new Vice Chairman of the Niti Ayog, Rajiv Kumar, defended the demonetization exercise. Kumar attributed the dip in the GDP to the active destocking in anticipation of GST and the deflationary impact of the wholesale price index.
तो सिर्फ 6 हफ्ते के लिए हुआ था और उसमें भी करेंसी थी मौजूद थी और जनवरी से तो वो शुरू हो ही चुका था और इसलिए ये कहना कि डिमोनेटाइजेशन की वजह से अप्रैल से लेके जून तक की क्वार्टर में उस तिमाही में जो है वो जीडीपी की गिरावट जो है उसकी वजह से है वो मेरे ख्याल में बिल्कुल ही गलत है.
The new vice chairman also defended the Niti Ayog's recommendation of strategic disinvestment in 12 central public sector enterprises.
कई बार ये जो एलिगेशन लगता है ना कि फैमिली सिल्वर बेच दी तो जब सिल्वर जो है वो कांसा बन जाए तो कुछ उसके बारे में सोचना पड़ता है. यूं ही कहा जाए तो ज्यादा बेहतर है.
Kumar assured that Niti Ayog will generate out-of-the-box transformational ideas to make India an economically advanced nation. It will also seek to create a platform where all stakeholders can work together towards India's development. He also said that competitive, cooperative federalism will be realized by Niti Ayog, working in close association with the states. Kriti Mishra, Rajya Sabha TV.
Meanwhile, a key macroeconomic data pointed out on Friday that the overall health of India's manufacturing sector has improved. Now, India's economic growth unexpectedly has slowed to 5.7% in the June quarter as manufacturing bottomed out. Experts, however, saw it as a transitory slowdown and feel that the growth may pick up from its current level in the coming quarters. Here is a report.
The Nikkei India Manufacturing Purchasing Managers Index, a composite indicator of manufacturing performance, stood at 51.2 in August, up from 47.9 reported in July. This signaled a renewed improvement in the health of the manufacturing sector. The overall health of India's manufacturing sector improved in August due to resumed growth of new orders, production and employment. India's economic growth had plummeted to a 13-quarter low of 5.7% in the April-June quarter this fiscal, as the manufacturing sector received a debilitating blow from the pre-goods and services tax destocking by jittery businesses. Experts feel the lower-than-expected economic growth in the first quarter this year was a temporary blip.
That what is happening now is not a secular slowdown or secular decline of economic activity. What we are having is a temporary blip around the otherwise rising trend, which means that now that the GST is kind of settled, not entirely, but 1 quarter is over, and GST is more than 1 quarter is over. So GST is settling down. The uncertainties about GST have waned, and with that, natural momentum would be restored.
Meanwhile, Indian shares rose on Friday despite tepid growth after the much weaker than expected economic data raised hopes that the central bank would cut interest rates at its next policy meeting in October. The 30-share BSE Sensex was up 161.74 points at 31,892, and the 50-share NSE Nifty gained 56.50 points at 9,974. By 2020, India is expected to become the 5th largest manufacturing destination. Manufacturing is touted to hold potential to account for 25 to 30% of the country's GDP, while creating up to 90 million jobs by 2025. Kriti Mishra's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
Now, the CBI has filed a charge sheet against former Air Force Chief SP Tyagi and 9 others in the Augusta Westland VVIP chopper deal case. SP Tyagi is the first chief of the Indian Air Force to be charge sheeted in a corruption or a criminal case by the CBI. Now, besides him, the CBI has also charge sheeted a retired Air Marshal J.S. Gujral along with 8 others, including 5 foreign nationals. The court has fixed 6th of September to pursue the charge sheet, in which the Anglo-Italian company Augusta Westland is one of the accused. The CBI is likely to file more documents in the court on the next date of hearing. The agency has alleged that there was an estimated loss of approximately 2,666 crore rupees to the exchequer in the deal that was signed on 8th of February 2010 for the supply of VVIP choppers. The accused have been charge sheeted for offences under the Prevention of Corruption Act as well as the Indian Penal Code. The Supreme Court has agreed to begin the final hearing in the Bofors payoff case in the last week of October. The Apex Court has said that it will hear the appeal filed by BJP leader Rajiv Kumar challenging a 2005 order by the Delhi High Court quashing charges against the Hinduja brothers. A bench comprising Chief Justice Deepak Mishra and Justices A.M. Kavanikar and D.Y. Chandrachud said that the hearing will begin in the week starting from 30th of October. The order came on an interim application filed by Agarwal seeking early hearing of his appeal filed against the Delhi High Court order in the 64 crore rupees scam. The Supreme Court had admitted Agarwal's petition on 18th of October 2005, which was filed after the CBI failed to approach the top court with the appeal within the 90-day deadline following the High Court verdict.
मैंने एप्लीकेशन फाइल करी थी डिटेल, उस एप्लीकेशन मैंने ये मेंशन भी किया था कि इस प्रकार का जो मैटर 12 साल से पेंडिंग है, जो कि डिसाइड नहीं हुआ है, इसकी वजह से अगस्ता वेस्टलैंड जैसे केस लगातार रिपीट हो रहे हैं, करप्शन डिफेंस डील्स में हो रहा है, जो कि कंट्री की सुरक्षा से संबंधित मामला है और इसको जल्दी जल्दी सुना जाना चाहिए। पहले लगातार 2010 में मैटर राइप था, केसेस सुनने के लिए आया था और उस वक्त ट्रायल कोर्ट रिकॉर्ड को सुप्रीम कोर्ट से सीबीआई ने भिजवा दिया वापस।
News from Jammu and Kashmir now, and a border security force Jawan was killed in a sniper firing by the Pakistani troops from across the line of control in Jammu and Kashmir's Poonch district. According to the BSF, Assistant Sub-Inspector Kamaljeet Singh suffered bullet injuries in enemy fire from across the line of control. Now, Singh, who was deployed at a forward post in Krishna Ghati sector in Poonch, was given first aid. He died while being taken to a military hospital. The ASI hailed from Malkana village in Punjab's Bhatinda district. Elsewhere, the militants opened fire on a police bus on the Srinagar-Jammu National Highway in the Pantha Chowk area, killing a policeman and injuring 3 others. The bus carrying personnel of the Jammu and Kashmir Armed Police came under the fire from militants in the evening on Friday. And in Breakfast News, we'll take a very short break. We'll be back with more news. Stay tuned.
we have to think of manned space program. Why we need manned space program is there is a very interesting study which has been done that moon has got plenty of helium-3 raw material. BrahMos is concerned, once we established supersonic, we also wanted to take lead further. So we launched a hypersonic program. We have now got very good number of people working on hypersonic program. ISRO is also working on hypersonic program. It is now it's time to really take off hypersonic, which is going to be the future as far as the cruise missile is concerned.
What Eureka with Dr. A. Shivathanu Pillai, Honorary Distinguished Professor, ISRO, only on Rajya Sabha television.
Welcome back after the break. Now, India is expected to raise its concern over terrorism strongly at the next week's BRICS summit in China. Now, China has already said that India's concerns over Pakistan's counter-terrorism record is not an appropriate topic to be discussed at the forum. India also did not rule out a possible meeting between Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Chinese President Xi Jinping on the margins of the summit on Monday. At the last BRICS summit hosted by India, Prime Minister Modi had described Pakistan as a mothership of terrorism worldwide. The Ministry of External Affairs has refused to preempt what the Prime Minister will speak during his intervention at the summit. Prime Minister Modi will leave for the BRICS summit on 3rd of September.
Our position on terrorism is very clear. We have raised it at different forums, different multilateral forums. It is not possible for me to preempt what PM will speak during his intervention during the BRICS restricted session and also during the BRICS plenary session, and also how and in what shape it is going to come out in the declaration document.
And Prime Minister Narendra Modi will also travel to Myanmar on 5th of September. Now, both the sides are expected to ink a number of agreements and deliberate on key issues, including the exodus of Rohingya community, ways to deepen security and defense cooperation, implementation of India-assisted development projects, and the issue of cross-border activities by certain insurgent groups along the Indo-Myanmar border are likely to figure during the Prime Minister's 3-day visit. On 6th of September, the Prime Minister will also hold wide-ranging talks with the State Councillor Aung San Suu Kyi. The MEA has said that the spate of violence in Myanmar's Rakhine state and the exodus of Rohingya minority will figure in the talks.
We regard this visit as an important visit, but one in a series of ongoing interaction which we hope will continue in the future. We have a few important agreements in the pipeline which we are hoping to sign during the visit. These are in a range of sectors which we believe have a lot of promise for the relationship. These include maritime cooperation, health, some development cooperation projects, culture, and capacity building.
Now, as violent clashes escalate in Rakhine state, Rohingya Muslims continue to stream out of Myanmar. While India has expressed solidarity with the Myanmar government, there is a concern over refugees pouring in our country. Now, a plea has been filed in India's Supreme Court by Rohingya immigrants, saying that the decision to send them back was in violation of international conventions. The case will be heard on Monday.
Violence in the Rakhine state of Myanmar has exploded again, with its effects spilling over to neighbouring Bangladesh and India as well. Facing persecution within their country, fleeing Rohingyas are looking to seek refuge in neighbouring nations. The Supreme Court of India will be hearing a plea filed by 2 Rohingya immigrants challenging the decision to deport them back to Myanmar. This comes after the National Human Rights Commission issued notice to the centre over its plan to deport close to 14,000 Rohingyas immigrants who are scattered across India. Meanwhile, the Ministry of External Affairs has called the situation in Rakhine state of Myanmar as a matter of concern.
The situation in Rakhine state has a variety of aspects. It has a developmental aspect, it has a humanitarian aspect, and it has a security aspect. What we have been trying to do is to encourage that government to find ways of stimulating some socio-economic development in that area, because ultimately if there is active economic activity in the state, I think many of the problems will actually at least reduce, if not.
United Nations says that nearly 40,000 Rohingya Muslims have fled to neighbouring Bangladesh since violence erupted in Rakhine state a week ago. Scores of people are reported to have died since the Rohingya militants attacked police force on 25th of August. Subsequent clashes have sent civilians from all communities fleeing. Many Rohingyas are trying to cross the Naf River to reach Bangladesh. 40 of them died in capsize incidents. Meanwhile, the Myanmar military says that it is fighting the militants. The violence marks a dramatic escalation of a conflict that has simmered since October last year, when a similar but much smaller series of Rohingya attacks on security posts prompted a brutal military response dogged by allegations of rights abuses. Many countries have called the killing of Rohingyas as genocide. The United Nations is also carrying out a formal investigation.
Myanmar devletini yanlarına almak isteyen güçlerin hiçbiri de bu insanlık suçunu durdurma konusunda caydırıcı adımlar atmıyor. Orada bir soykırım var. Buna karşı sessiz duruyorlar. Kardeşlerim, sadece Arakan Müslümanları değil.
Meanwhile, nationalists have been protesting in various cities of Myanmar, calling for military to take control in Rakhine. Rakhine, the poorest region in Myanmar, is home to more than 1 million Rohingyas. They have faced decades of persecution in Buddhist majority in Myanmar, where they are not considered citizens. The last October and this August attacks were carried out by a group called the Arakan Rohingya Salvation Army. It says its aim is to protect Muslim Rohingyas from state repression. Bureau Report, Rajya TV.
On to some news from Darjeeling, and the indefinite shutdown in the hills has entered the 80th day today. Now, this comes after the GJM chief Bimal Gurung removed the party convener Bime Tamang and Anit Thapa from the post and revoked the announcement to suspend the Bandh till 12th of September. Now, rallies supporting the Bandh have been organized at different areas, including Darjeeling, Kurseong, Mirik and Kalimpong. Meanwhile, West Bengal police have issued a lookout notice against absconding JJM chief Bimal Gurung for his alleged involvement in various cases, including a bomb blast at the Kalimpong police station, which killed a civic volunteer. The JJM chief has been booked under the Unlawful Activities Prevention Act, Explosive Substances Act, the West Bengal Maintenance of Public Order Act and the IPC Section 302.
मैं चाहता हूं गणतांत्रिक फॉर्म में आंदोलन करना चाहिए, कोई ऐसा झमेला ना हो, कोई बंदूक न उठाए, शांति से काम करने लेने चाहिए.
Big story coming in from the United States, where rescue work has intensified with the Texas officials launching search operations and saving people stuck in the receding floodwaters in the aftermath of Hurricane Harvey. Now, the hurricane is one of the most destructive storms in American history that has claimed at least 47 lives till now. Nearly a week after Hurricane Harvey slammed into the Texas coast, desperate residents remain stranded without food and water in wake of the unprecedented flooding. The authorities are searching for survivors and have made helicopter rescues from rooftops. The officials are assessing the storm's trail of destruction in Houston as the floodwaters have slowly started to recede in southeastern part of Texas. About 48 kilometers northeast of Houston, alarming reports have emerged about the danger posed by a chemical plant after the French company operating the facility said that explosions were possible. The Neches River in the East Texas surged far beyond its banks into streets, houses and businesses in the city. The White House has said that President Donald Trump will contribute $1 million of his personal money for flood relief operations in Texas and Louisiana.
I think we really have seen it. Nowhere is our unity more evident than in the actions of our volunteer and charitable organizations that rally to their neighbor's aid when disaster strikes. The people of Texas and Louisiana were hit very hard by a historic flood. In their response, they have taught us all a lesson, a very, very powerful lesson. There was no outbreak in crime. There was an outbreak of compassion only. Real, beautiful, strong compassion. And
let's get you more international news now. Here is the World Wrap. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said on Friday that Moscow would respond harshly to the US measures designed to hurt it. And this came after the United States told Russia to close its consulate in San Francisco and the buildings in Washington and New York. Lavrov also complained that the US had only given Moscow 48 hours to comply with its demands and hinted that Russia might look at ordering further reductions in US embassy staff. Kenya's Supreme Court on Friday nullified President Uhuru Kenyatta's election win, citing irregularities. It has ordered a new poll within 60 days. The ruling sets up a new race between Kenyatta and veteran opponent Raila Odinga. Kenyatta called for calm and respect for the ruling and said that he would run again in a televised speech. But he later struck a more combative note, criticizing the court for ignoring the will of the people and dismissing the Chief Justice's colleagues as crooks. Tropical storm Lydia has left at least 4 people dead in its sweep across Mexico's Baja California peninsula, wrecking infrastructure and homes along the way. 2 people were electrocuted and 2 drowned trying to cross the stream to safety. Lydia made a landfall early Friday and is slowly churning across the peninsula. Having maximum sustained winds of 95 kilometers per hour, Lydia is expected to dump 6 to 12 inches of rain on the peninsula. Over 2 million Hajj pilgrims from around the world participated in the ritual of stoning of Jamarat, the huge pillars of stone symbolizing Saturn in the holy city of Mina on Friday. The pilgrims came back to Mina in the morning to perform the main ritual of Hajj on Friday, which coincided with the beginning of the celebration of Eid al-Adha by Muslims all over the world. Hundreds of thousands of faithful attended the Eid prayers at the Grand Mosque and the Prophet statue in Medina. News from the world of sports. In ace tennis players Petra Kvitova, Denis Shapovalov and Venus Williams have reached the 4th round of the ongoing US Open at the Flushing Meadows in New York. Kvitova beat 18th seed Caroline Garcia 6-0, 6-4 to reach the 4th round. Spanish 3rd seed Muguruza overcame Slovakian Magdalena Ryborikova 6-1, 6-1. Kvitova will meet Muguruza in the next round. While US Open star Denis Shapovalov beat Briton Kyle Edmund 3-6, 6-3, 6-3, 1-0. In another match, a former champion and 5th-seeded Marin Cilic lost to Argentina's Diego Schwartzman 4-6, 7-5, 7-5, 6-4. While American Venus Williams beat Greek Maria Sakkari 6-3, 6-4. Muslims around the world are celebrating Eid al-Adha as some 2 million Muslim pilgrims carry out the final rites of the annual Hajj in Saudi Arabia. The final days of the Hajj coincide with Eid al-Adha holiday or the feast of sacrifice to commemorate Ibrahim's test of faith. President Ramnath Kovind, Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu and Prime Minister Narendra Modi have wished the faithful on the occasion. And that's it from me and my team in this edition of News. Thanks for watching.